When it comes to religion, I think there is a thin line between faith and desperation. We're talking about people who feel so hopeless that they have to clutch onto anything to feel that they're moving on. I'm Ketrin Soi, a correspondent with Al Jazeera, and between us, this is the most surreal story I have ever covered in Kenya. Paul Mackenzie, the preacher who has been accused of luring people to starve so that they can get to heaven.
Mackenzie.
He was a cab driver in Malindi. He has been in that town for more than 20 years, and he was very charismatic.
Hallelujah.
He said that he got this calling from God that he needs to preach. So he started this church. Initially, it was all good.
Be wise, you people, otherwise you'll perish.
But then he started preaching this very controversial doctrine, telling his congregants that the children should stop going to school. They had to stop vaccinating children. He had been arrested several times because of these teachings. He said that he wants to go to a more remote place so that he can farm. So a lot of the very staunch members of this church are the ones who went with him to Shakahola. They started becoming more and more recluse. That's when we are told that they started this extreme fasting. As the days went by, we saw these bodies piling up. So we traveled to Shakahola just to see what was going on. The feeling was so eerie. People were afraid. And the first thing I saw was this shallow graves. Already the grave diggers were exhuming the bodies. You could just smell death. I thought about, the adults, the people who are doing this extreme fast, just what was going through their mind, what was happening in their heart to feel the need to die. We have been told from some of the survivors is that the preacher really encouraged the adults to kill the children first, because the preacher said that that would be a direct route into heaven. So far, 240 bodies have already been exhumed, and this exercise is going on. Some of them died from suffocation. Some were strangled as well. We have been told that some were hit with blunt objects. We have heard there were missing body parts, but the police are not talking about that too much. 600 people are still missing, and half of them are children. 34 people have been arrested, including Pastor Mackenzie. Several people have been rescued. People are waiting for answers. We spoke to many of those who had left. Some of them still had families and friends who were in the cult, who are in Shakahola. I spoke to one woman called Riziki, and she was looking for her husband and 3 children. And she tried very much to get her family out of the cult, but it was impossible. She's saying she's not hopeful, but she just wants justice. In Kenya, anybody can start a church. Freedom of worship is enshrined in the Constitution. I think the conversation now is about regulation and how can we balance things to make sure the people who are so vulnerable, people who are so desperate, how can they be protected?